A quarter of straight porn searches by women are for videos featuring violence against their own sex. Me too.
Who was that comedian? Was it Louis C.K. who was talking about being with a woman, and he thought it was going well, and he tried to fuck her, and she kept pushing him off. And then the next day he talked to her, and she was like, "Well, yeah, I wanted you to, kind of take me, kind of rape me." And Louis was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna rape you on the off chance that this is what you're into. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I bet she's really okay with this. Let's do it. Like, no, too risky. But that's not surprising at all. Women are attracted to dominance. Like, even if it's that kind of.
That sounds like something Jordan Peterson would say.
You have to clean your room. You have to fight the dragon.
You're right.
I like
dad.
Jordan Peterson. So I've listened to him a little more. He has a knack for saying things and making me feel like I already knew and believed that. Right? They just seem obvious and intuitive, and that you're, I don't know, in this like social justice warrior denial if you don't line up with the way that he does. And
what I get, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What I get from him, like, first of all, like, people who try and paint him as offensive or like risque at all, I don't get it. He doesn't say anything off color. Like, pretty much everything he says is totally inoffensive. But I think that the reason he resonates so much with this current generation is
he doesn't bow down to the easily offended. I would argue.
Yeah. But then also, like, I don't think that the people who get hyper offended over teeny little things are the mainstream. Like, I think that's a fringe on the left or the right. Like, I don't think that's a giant group of people. But I think that he basically just kind of repackages in an easily digestible form lessons that your dad or the man of your house should have taught you. Like, hey, get your shit together. Clean your room, as trite as that is. Do this and that. Always be looking to the future. Make sure that you're prepared. Be ready to start a family. Don't fuck around until you're 38 and then wonder why you're sad and depressed. You haven't been having agency for your life and your decisions. Like, a lot of this, I feel like, is a generation who has grown up with record levels of fatherlessness in the home. And so these very novel ideas of masculinity are like, oh my God, I'd never considered that before. Because like the public school is so angled towards girls, against toxic masculinity. Any form of assertiveness or aggression is squashed. And so I think it's really speaking true to a lot of guys who grew up in this generation.
It's interesting to have him deliver that message too. Like, so he's an interesting guy to be the one that delivers it. In that, like, when I hear his voice, I mean, he's heard this a million times. There's a little bit of Kermit the Frog element in there,
sure,
right? And if you look at his body type, it's pretty much the exact opposite of LeBron James, right? Yet, if you listen to the core of who he is, he's very much like macho. Isn't too far off the mark, I don't think. You know, he doesn't believe that masculinity is toxic. He thinks it's okay. He would tell you that women like a guy who has some sort of value and who can do things and who is a producer, and they value a guy who is a doer and a protector and an achiever. And those are kind of old school masculine 1950s thoughts. But,
yeah, and I don't even think it started at the 1950s. Like, that's what they try and portray it as now, as though they're like, oh, back to that archaic
1950s
time.
And prior.
Yeah, and prior, where there's so many valuable things you can learn from your father, from the man in the house, that boys just aren't taught anymore. Partially because, in school or wherever, they're taught that just by basis of being a man or a boy, that they're going to develop into something that is intrinsically bad. That, oh, masculinity, that doesn't have a positive connotation. That's negative. You need to eschew all of those masculine traits because people don't want that. Oh, look at this sitcom where there's the cute girl dating the lithe, semi-feminine boy. It's like they're trying to teach people a way that the world doesn't work. Women love masculinity in a relationship.
Straight women.
Straight women love it. The overwhelming majority of women who are straight.
That's bred into them.
They love it. Like that's something that I just think so many young guys are being led off the path by buying into Hollywood and corporate nonsense of like, oh yeah, you want a happy wife, happy life, am I right, fellow pussies? It's like, no. Like, sometimes you have to put your foot down, and that's something that women really respect. because women will try and, test the boundaries of a relationship to see if you're actually, the kind of man who will stand up for yourself. They'll do little pokes and prods, and that's not a bad thing for women. They're making sure their man is, not a pussy. And
they're standing up for themselves too, right? Maybe when they push back, it's not just happy husband, happy life either, right? There's a partnership in there.
Yeah, and I'm saying that people happy wife, happy life is true, but they're misattributing it to be happy, meaning you get what you want all the time, versus happy being no, Slims, you have to have a stern hand and say no, like I'm not going to bootlick for you. I'm going to, this is a relationship.
A stern backhand, is that what you're saying, Taylor?
A stern backhand. I got 5 reasons we're not going.
Women appreciate a stern backhand. They like to be kept in line.
Yeah, there's no evidence for that other than it seems like that's not quite hard enough for him, Woody, given the porn results Kyle just pulled up. You need to be brutal,
extreme brutal.
You need Chris Brown techniques.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the one that was it? Harley, maybe, who was like, you've got Chris Brown on your iPod, yet you hate Harley Weinstein, and I'm like, yep and yep. But I really like that song. Do. That's good.
It's really catchy.
Let's